we go. Welcome back to Stay Tuned. I'm Tony Angelo. Today we're going to see if we have enough bad ideas, sawzall blade, and welding wire to get this Aston Martin V12 crammed inside this 1989 Foxbody Mustang. Let's go. All right, so if you're up to date, this is a 2001-ish Aston Martin V12 5.9 liter motor. Mike Knapp, one of the guys that owns Englishtown Raceway Park, this was his dad's, and he wanted to do something cool with it, and he gave it to me. It had kind of been laying around for quite a few years, and I've had it about 1.5 years or 2 years doing nothing, and then we finally decided, let's put this thing into a car, a muscle car. And the idea was something that would handle good. You know, Aston Martins are Grand Tours. They're like, they're powerful and they're rowdy, and they're like just for tossing, you know, a backpack or a fancy, probably some fancy luggage in too, and then going like 100 million miles an hour wherever you want for the weekend. So we kind of want to build something in that vibe. We know this thing's going to sound incredible. They make good power. It's going to make, you know, 450 horsepower probably. It'll sound insane, and we just wanted a car that would be good for that. And we picked the Mustang because at this point in time, Aston and Ford were in the same ownership group, and half the stuff on here is Ford. Like if you know 90s Ford anything, that's a Ford dipstick. There's Ford coils. That says Ford. It says Ford like 900 times on this motor, and I just figured, hey, we'll stick it in a Mustang. It's kind of the American equivalent. Pony car, it'll be awesome. But I didn't really take into account how physically massive this thing is. It is ridiculous. It's going to be a very, very tight fit. It's going to be shoving 10 kilograms into a 5-pound bag. Yeah, because it's like British or whatever. Is it? Yeah. What I know is this. Intake manifold and exhaust manifolds are no-goes because of where the throttle bodies are mounted and just because of where the exhaust manifolds go. So we're going to drop this thing down for a second, pull both of the manifolds off, and try to see if we can fit this thing in the engine bay in a way that makes sense. Then we'll talk about mounts, bell housing, etc. There is a later intake manifold we know already that bolts up to this engine that will put the throttle bodies here. Because right here, unfortunately, in the Mustang, is where the strut goes. All right, let's grab some metric tools, baby. Last episode, we picked this car up. I paid $2,800 for that Mustang over there, which I don't think is the best deal I've ever gotten, but not the worst. And then we just tried to fit this sucker in there, and it's huge. It's gigantic.
Okay, good job.
So throttle body's off, and we'll see if we can actually get it into space. There she goes. Nice.
This looks like it's gonna fit already. So I gotta like wiggle it out so I can get my wrench back on. Real stupid like. Okay, now it should come off.
Sounds like it. Sounds like that theory worked.
Got it.
All right, right?
Yep. You just break the handle off?
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Unthreaded?
Do what you're doing.
No! That was like a toddler.
It's fine.
No!
It's fine. It'll work.
All right, swing that thing. I'm gonna hold this in case it decides to go down fast or something. It's done that a couple times.
Yarf.
Whee!
I got it. Hey guys, we have a ton of Stay Tuned merch back in stock. All of this stuff is printed in PA by my old buddy Ralph. And we've got all the classics here. We've got the We're Gonna Lose the Shop shirt, Stay Tuned hats, Angelo's Garage Gym, the Cyclone shirt, and of course the original Stay Tuned Garage shirt. So click the link, order up some fresh threads, and we appreciate every order. All right, let's make horsepower. It does look more promising now.
Yeah, it looks better
potentially
already.
might get in there. And we had the factory throttle bodies on there. and the exhaust manifold, it just wasn't gonna happen. This is a 60-degree V8. V8, it's like stuck in my head. This is a 60-degree V12, so you can see it's narrower than most of the V8s we work on. But it doesn't really matter for a Foxbody because there's no room in there anyway.
Sawzall, sawzall.
This whole ridiculous idea began. I went down to Florida and I drove my buddy Tavarish's Aston Martin. He's got a sick manual V12 car. And I drove it and it sounded incredible and the power was awesome and I loved it. And I made a little video on, stay tuned, it's one of our first videos. Oh, this thing pulls great.
Oh yeah.
And Mike Knapp, my buddy, had this thing laying around. And said, hey, I'm not doing anything with it. Why don't you get your hands on it and do something? So that's kind of how it went.
Yeah. This is looking great already.
It really is. All right, I'm guessing we're gonna need to get this.
Why does it fit way better than I thought it was?
It does fit pretty good, boy. Woo! All right, that looks pretty cool.
It does.
I'm pretty excited.
Can you get it
that.
down to sit on the oil pan?
Yeah, maybe. Alternator's tight.
It's not bad.
It's pretty close. Man, that feels pretty good. We might have something here. All right, I think you're lifting most of the motor off the alternator output, and I bet that alternator costs $8 gazillion. You just shimmy that off of there. Our goal is to use most of the factory accessory drive because number one, it fits really well, and it's a lot of work to re-engineer one, and I think it's pretty close. We can dimp it. We can always like section the frame a hair in the front.
Yeah.
Would be no big deal. But for now, just get a 13 and an 8 and take those 3 out and we'll be good. It's a whole new day. The V12 is still sitting in our engine bay. We were waiting on the transmission to show up. It just did. We're gonna get back into this project. As you can see, it just barely fits, but we're thinking there's quite a bit of room back here. We're gonna pull that brake booster out, slide this engine back 3 inches or so and give us enough space to hopefully run the radiator and cooling system in the front. If not, it becomes very complicated and a huge pain in the butt to put it in the back or anywhere else. So now it does look like this V12 is gonna fit and we can make this idea, this ridiculous idea happen. We're gonna pull that V12 out of the Mustang and we're gonna install a tubular subframe, tubular K-member from QA1 and start beginning to fab up these motor mounts to get that thing dialed in exactly where we need it, which is really as far back as humanly possible. Cool, so the factory Ford K-member is this giant sheet metal. It's like formed sheet metal and then, you know, all welded together into this huge monstrosity. Makes it impossible to put headers on a regular V8. Obviously with our V12 scenario, we want to get more room, as much access as possible, as much room as possible to work on the thing and also fit headers in here. So that stock piece is coming out. We've got a QA1 tubular subframe that's going to go in there and give us a bunch more room. So step one, yank out the Ford stuff. Okay, so this is all factory Ford stuff. It's a McPherson strut car, so we're just going to blast it apart. One lower arm and the strut. It's got a separate coil spring and shock setup, or strut setup, like I said. But it's all coming off so we can get that K-member out of here. All right, we disconnected the brake calipers, yanked the sway bar off. We are going to now try to compress the spring a little bit, remove the upper strut mounts, which should allow it to, then when we lower this, the coil spring will pop out, and we'll just unbolt the subframe. Quick and easy.
That's it, and that's all.
That's it. That's all she wrote on that one. Yeah, that moved pretty good. Yeah, you ready? Mm-hmm. Like I said, you got to treat it with some respect. Like if your dad had, like, you know, 4 wine coolers at the company picnic. You know what I mean?
I got my safety squints on.
Don't mess with them. Here we go.
That's how it's done.
There she goes.
There you go. All right. Let's,
Got it.
Hey!
Really got it.
Good job. Oy.
Nice.
There you go.
Alright. It's time to now lower the K-member or subframe, whatever you want to call it, out. We've left the lower control arms on it. It's got the spindles on it with the brake rotor, so it's going to be a little bit of weight. Instead of trying to hold it up, still got the steering rack on there. We're just going to lower it onto this tray that I have, this big cart, and then lower the car down, take the one bolt that's in each side out. Side note, the guy told me, hey, there's no bolts in the front end. He wasn't lying.
I didn't know that though.
He wasn't lying.
To my surprise, I was like, hey.
And we will lift the car off of the subframe. Anytime you're doing something like this and you have a lift, be aware, hey, I'm taking 300 pounds off the front end. Make sure it's not going to flop off the other way. You know, lifts, the cars will be balanced on there. So you can either strap it to the front arms, which we may do, or we'll just at least move up really nice and slow. Once we have the weight off of it, I'll do a little shake test when it's nice and low and make sure we're not in trouble.
Okay.
I'm going to lift up, just keep an eye on it.
Yep. We don't have to go super high, just enough to roll it out.
Just get it out. Soon enough.
We could strap it down for while we're doing everything else.
We'll get a couple small straps, we'll strap it to the lift arms. You can also just open the doors and run one.
Yeah, through
all the way through.
Yep.
That'll at least save your butt. And hit me. Pretty good. So we yanked out the original Ford K-member, the struts, everything attached to them, the steering rack, the sway bar, the spindles, all that stuff is yanked out of our way because we're going to install this. This is a QA1 tubular K-member. This is lighter, stronger, better, same geometry as stock, right? Mm-hmm. And what's cool about this is that they actually make a kit to use a bunch of different motor mounts. They have one for LS, they have one for the 5-liter, and they have them for Coyote too. So it's super modular. They don't happen to have one for an Aston Martin V12. I asked them, they said, what's your problem? Which is fine. And then they sent over this blank one, so we'll make it work.
Yeah. One.
Again, not only are you losing weight and it's stronger, but with the Ford thing that is like fully sheet metal and in your way all over the place, one of the big advantages of this is you get a ton of access for headers or making motor mounts or any of that sort of stuff, especially if you want to do like a weird giant engine swap like we do. The Aston Martin V12 is huge physically, so we're going to be working on clearance with everything. We're going to put the steering rack back in so we know where that thing sits, make sure that the steering shaft is where it needs to go when we start making mounts and headers. And we need to get rid of the booster and the master. We're going to run a manual brake setup. It's totally fine in the street as long as you have, you know, the right size master in there. It's going to feel good, it's going to work fine, and give us a ton of room just to get rid of that thing. So that'll just get out of our way for now, and we'll work on getting the motor bolted up to the transmission and in the car. Isn't that weird?
Oh, you know what? Because the guy did the repair here, he probably welded a nut in here.
True. Yes, our Foxbody rusted out where they all rust out, right at the bottom of the driver's side strut tower. So it's been repaired. A little bit of a different scenario here with the one bolt.
So we just need a short bolt there?
I guess. You can see the repair. I would call it mostly adequate.
Mostly adequate? I like that. I like it. 16.
I mean, is it noticeable? Yeah. Is the welding mediocre at best? Is it going to work for us? For sure. Better, you know, at least we didn't have to do it. It's always easier to go in and complain about somebody else's work than it is to do it better yourself.
That's a bolt if I've ever seen one, baby.
You picked the easy one. Jeez.
Yeah? Hey. There you go.
There you go. Okay, we yanked out the old rack. It's pretty gross.
Very gross.
Quick scrub. There's the Lincoln. Sammy's going to get our transmission. Look at that thing. Look at that tank. Oh, workhorse. All right, scrub a dub. Spray it down. So there's a couple different configurations for your Mustang. If you are going to run the later spindle, 90, what is it to 04?
79 to 95 holes up.
Yeah.
96 to 04 holes down.
So you want to mount the rack in the right position to work with your spindles to get the right bump steer. Bump steer is the worst. It's if your car suspension goes up and down, it turns the wheel or it toes in and out. It's awful. So we're going to run it in this position with the rack as high as possible with these slugs that they give you. If you're going to run the later knuckle or spindle, you'd run it like this. And then you have to figure out what kind of bushing sleeve to use. Since our K-member had sleeves coming straight out of it, we use the sleeves that are included in our bushings to make sure that everything fits right. And if not, they give you a ton of great information. If you have to buy new ones, where to get them. Go ahead, bring that sucker in here.
You got that? You got one side?
I can't, yeah, I gotta hold them in until you get over
They,
there.
oh, they fall out?
Yeah.
All right, hold the one side, hold that side.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We gave it a quick scrub outside before we came in here, just to get a bunch of the gross junk off of it, but we'll really clean this stuff up later on. This is just mock-up phase. We're gonna paint the engine bay. We're gonna do a halfway decent job here. Where'd that nut go?
We're gonna do a full way decent.
Oh yeah. Mega way.
The mega way.
That's in there. Good. All right, let's get this steering shaft lined up and locked in, and then we'll know everything is exactly where we need it to be to put the motor in, start making motor mounts, and then start talking about headers. Headers is gonna be...
That's gonna be a fun one.
Making
huh?
headers for a V12 motor in a Foxbody is going to take us a long time, but we're going to get it done. We got some support coming for that.
Where's the hole? Oh, there it is. Yep, got it. No, I was looking for the hole in the rag joint. We're good.
All right, get it started and I'll pull it out a little more.
Yep.
So if your steering column ever seems to be too short, they're made to
Collapse.
collapse. Sometimes they big collapse a little bit.
There you go.
Give it a good little yank, it'll come out.
Enough for mock-ups.
That's fine. One thing you should realize about doing these wild motor swaps, and we learned this early on in drifting stuff because we were building cars from complete scratch however we wanted, is you want to make sure that you've thought about all the different systems that need to go into that engine bay or into that car while you're building it. You know, oh, I'm putting the fuel cell in the back of this car, but remember, oh, there's also a fire system, and oh, where the shock, you know, reservoir is going to go. All this sort of stuff needs to be thought about at the same time, even if you're just working on one unit at a time. So that's why we've got the steering rack in here. We know we need that. We're going to have the brake booster, you know, removed, but we're going to leave the master in if we can. We're going to get everything basically ready to live together, and then we'll start really mocking it up and fabricating mounts and stuff. Because if not, you can't go in afterwards and say, oh, I need a steering rack. It's not the time to do it.
Especially when you spend 4 weeks building headers.
Yeah. This is good though. This is a ton more access, a ton more room. This is so minimal. It's going to help out big time. That's a killer piece. We're getting ready. We've got the subframe now bolted up into our Mustang. We're going to start making these motor mounts. Before we even throw the engine into the car, we're going to go ahead and make the plates that are going to bolt onto the motor. We're doing it super basic, nothing fancy here, no CAD, just all manual. Zach went through, he made a little template, the proper hole spacing and hole sizes and locations. I cut some plate here just on the little basic, you know, vertical bandsaw. And I'm gonna now get ready to drill these suckers out. These are M10 holes. I'm gonna drill them to 25/64. A little bit bigger, have a little bit of wiggle room in it. All right, 6 more to go. We'll just time lapse it. Here we go, and go. That's it. Let me hit him with a countersink bit. So the bolt's going a little bit easier. And there we are.
Are they lava hot? Dang, that's a beautiful looking plate, boys.
I just hope it's thick enough.
Look at that. I bet you that doesn't come off. What you got?
Show in Mexico, baby, that's the one. Ceramic right on it, beautiful. All right, kick that box out the way.
Oh, okay. That's the kind of thing. Wait for that. Got it. Look at that. Incredible.
There she is. This is one of the main pieces going to make this whole project work. This is a T56 from American Powertrain. It's a T56 Magnum. This is the best street manual transmission you can run in your car. They are awesome. People have run them face-plated like into the 7s. They're insane, but they're like triple synchro, super awesome. What? 6s, excuse me.
Who's counting now?
Yeah, they're gnarly. But just out of the box, the way it is, the Magnum set up to handle all sorts of horsepower. It's going to handle this V12 no problem. And one of the things that made this product even possible is this. So believe it or not, QuickTime makes a bell housing to adapt an Aston Martin V12 to a T56. And one of the reasons when my buddy Mike Knapp said, hey, I have this Aston V12 laying around, do you want to get it? Really benefited me to be a complete lunatic who knows the QuickTime bell housing catalog by heart, more or less, because I have dug through the Holley website just for days and days at a time. And I said, hold on a second. He texted me, hey, I got this Aston V12 laying around. Do you want it? Incredible text. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that QuickTime makes a bell housing for that thing. I go to the Holley site. Sure enough, they do. And so that's really the only reason we're able to make this thing happen. So not only did American Powertrain send us the T56, which is capable of handling like 700 pound-feet of torque. It is honestly my favorite 6-speed. It's got 2 overdrives, best street manual transmission there is. And American Powertrain has been amazing. They sent us all this other stuff for the project. If you're rocking with a Foxbody and you want to put a T56 in it, they have a bolt-in crossmember, which is sick. And if you don't know, these cars come with a cable-actuated clutch with this weird quadrant that goes underneath the dash, and they have this hydraulic conversion kit that is fully dialed in, meaning the master cylinder is going to live under the dash. There's a remote reservoir to feed the thing, and you don't have to do any cutting, welding. There's no math. Just bolt this sucker in, connect it to the hydraulic throw-off bearing that you're going to put into your transmission, and you're off and rocking. The only thing we need to figure out in the future is a clutch and flywheel, but this is perfect. We're going to get the transmission bolted to the bell housing, bolted to the engine, and drop that thing back in. Yeah, lower that battleship down here. All right, don't take the chain off it. That's enough. We'll put the bell housing on, and we'll put the chain right back on it. Yeah, immediately back on it, yeah. In fact, I'll hold it up while we do it. Yeah, go get that bell housing that QuickTime happens to make for an Aston Martin V12.
Why would they lie?
Goes the other way. Not like this. Yeah.
Not a stick.
Yeah. It's pretty clear.
So far, so good.
Look at that. That's
Nice.
incredible. All right, chain bolts back in. We're not gonna measure it up or dial it in or anything. Nice, perfect. All right, the QuickTime bell housing is bolted up to our Aston Martin V12. I'm gonna grab that T56 Magnum transmission from American Powertrain. It's a good time now to tell you that we have no plan yet for flywheel and clutch. The Aston units, I think, are dual mass. They're not gonna work for us. So if you make clutches or know how to machine flywheels or anything like that, hit us up. We'll figure it out. We'll make something happen.
Yeah, hit us up.
Find us in the comments. Email michael@tangeloracing.com, whatever. All right, let's toss this thing in and mock it up. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go this way so you can see. Da-da-da. You got to lift it up.
Up a little more. And the dowels.
Dowels-ish. There it is. That is a thing of beauty.
Wow. This is a T56 Magnum built into a V12. Do you see this?
I do.
You see this?
British/Ford V12 thing. It's amazing. Shout out to whoever at Aston Martin Racing team or
Yeah, it was like, we needed that QuickTime bell housing.
Yeah, whoever paid for this development, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Or whoever put this on the shelf, or whatever lunatic over at Holly and QuickTime were like, you know what motor we need to support?
Yeah.
The old Aston Martin V12.
The best part was like, they were like, we have 12 of these on the shelf.
Yeah.
That definitely had to be the minimum quantity. Minimum quantity was 13 on that one.
I've been
They
looking at
used
this
one and
in
put
the
12 on the
catalog
shelf.
for years and years,
Yeah.
and then we had one.
And then they became 95%
I
off.
might have manifested that. I feel like a
Maybe.
MLM girl.
Feel like it.
I think I might have manifested this.
Yeah.
First, I should have manifested something else, but this is still fun.
This gets me going. Hey, look at that.
All right, it's time to now put the entire power plant back into our Mustang and see how it fits. We've got the Aston V12, the American Powertrain T56 with the QuickTime bell housing holding it all together. We're gonna try to jam it in there as one piece and see what happens.
Do it. Okay.
Just kidding, Zach's here with pizza. Boop, let's go. All right, so stay tuned. We're here rocking and rolling. We run here exclusively on delicious Pennsylvania pizza and meatball parms, I guess, this week. Look at this. Listen, this is the best part. Oh, that's how you know it's good. Tornettas, Pottstown, Pennsylvania. We drive an hour to go get it, but it's worth it. If you want to buy us a slice or buy us a pie, you can do that. We have a buy us a pizza button that's right up here. People asked for it, and there it is. I gotta buy these guys pizza every single day, so you can help out, and we super duper appreciate it. Joseph Leahy bought us this one. Also, Kyle Redner threw us some pizza. Yes, David Stevens. He says, no more room for t-shirts, always room for more pizza. Words to live by. All right, let's chat down. We appreciate everybody that reaches out, sends us pizza. Thanks so much. We're full of pizza and we are full of hope. We're gonna now cram the V12 with the T56 and the QuickTime bell housing into the Mustang, and we can finally make some engine mounts to get this thing sitting in there properly. Do we think it's gonna fit? Yeah, we got a pretty good idea it's gonna fit. We wanna get as far back as possible, level it out, and make some nice, clean motor mounts. We don't have a ton of room to do it. So let's get rocking. It's a lot of V12 in there. All right, hold that right there. I hit the tunnel. So. What's up? I think I hit the tunnel. Yeah, that's the question. Is it gonna fit in the tunnel? Oh, hold on. It's gotta go back. That's why I was a little bit hesitant about shoving it all the way in right off the bat, because it's got to come out to beat the tunnel up. It's gonna be. All right, so we have our rack in the higher position. Obviously, we don't have enough clearance here, so we're gonna put that rack down where it needs to go. And if we have to solve that geometry with like bump steer at the knuckle, we'll just do that. So. You get your finger in there? So it's holding it up now. So here, try to get it. While you take the weight off it. There you go. Okay. Are you in there? Yeah, sick.
This one should go.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Good? Yeah,
we
go
lowered
ahead.
the steering rack. It's quite a bit better in the front. We now are going to lift this big big old hunk of aluminum out of here and just hammer on the transmission tunnel, try to get a little bit more room. If we can get it up about an inch or so, we'll be pretty happy.
Yep.
Yeah, let her go?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we're looking for a little more room in this area and this area. This area, I'm gonna give it a couple of kisses with this the old iron hammer and see what it does. Just trying to get the transmission to go up a little bit more.
It's snowing in here.
Yeah, so I am making more room for the transmission, and I'm lightening the car up because all sorts of rust is coming off, hitting me in the face. It's beautiful. Twofer. Whoo, heart's pounding. Feeling good. Oh, yeah. A little less pizza, a little more cardio, probably need that in my life. Okay.
Pizza's so good, though.
I know, it tastes great. Oh man, what's happened here? Oops. Yeah. Was that there before?
I don't think you did that.
Do you remember seeing that a minute ago?
No.
Okay. File that under. We'll fix that later. I've been thinking about names for this car, going back and forth.
Ooh, hit me.
Feel like fancy British vibes, you know, American apple pie vibes, like kind of like Grey Poupon on a hot dog, or like what could we call? We called it. Talking about Aston Powers, like Austin Powers, but Aston because Aston Martin, Blastin' Martin because it's kind of cool. I like Fox and Martin because it's like Sox and Martin were like drag racers back in the day, but they were all Mopar guys. I like that. That sticks in my head though. Sox and Martin is the thing that I've always thought was cool. I don't think it really fits here though. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I'll keep, you know, when you're doing the hammering, it's a real zen moment. A lot of time with your thoughts. I'll get there. So after hammering the ever-loving crap out of the transmission tunnel in our Mustang, we decided it's time to make some engine mounts. And what we ran to a local shop, S&W. They are chassis builders for drag racers. They make all sorts of parts. We grabbed their last set of upper control arms for a Mustang like this, and we're going to cannibalize these things to make exactly what we need. We're going to knock, this would go in the back with the turnbuckle. These would become your upper arms in the 4-link, but we're not going to use it for that. We're going to knock this off, use the bushing as our engine mount as the isolator, and we are going to knock this little tube end off and weld this right to those plates that Zach and I made for the engine. Barb made up a couple of plates that are going to bolt up to that QA1K member, and we're just going to weld the tube between them with the isolator, and we'll be ready to rock.
All right, so I made up a couple of little plates here. Bolt onto the K member, and then we'll weld the tube to here, coming off to the plate that's on the motor. Some 1/8" steel.
Cool. So we've cannibalized the S&W Mustang upper arms for this big bracket and this piece of tube that's going to hold the isolator, and it's going to live just like this. We're going to weld these brackets right here onto those plates that Zimmy and I made earlier, and then it's just going to be a tube from here to other plates. So we're rocking and rolling. Step one, do as much work as you can before you throw it in the car. So that's what we're going to do. We know we're going to use these guys, so Zimmy's going to weld these in now, and we'll lower the whole thing back in.
Ooh, love that.
All right, we lowered the engine and trans back in with all the hammering that I did. Really sucked up nice, and we're just going to now put the transmission crossover into this thing, try to level everything up, and we're going to start making those motor mounts. All right, this is the Stifler's crossmember that the guys from American Powertrain sent over. It's super cool because not only does it have these slots that are going to allow us to push our whole engine and transmission forward and back, but these bushings actually move on these collars here, and you can move the entire thing forward and back between this and this like 8 inches. So that's great. I'm going to slide this back on the collars to get where it's got to go. So it's back here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to just knock this back on the sleeves. We decided it faces back, right? These sleeves need to be all the way forward. Get this mount back because the T56s. It's a long boy. I'm going to try to just knock this thing down. Holding it far enough back that this is going to work out. Beautiful.
There it is.
There's some spacers we can use to get it as high as we need it, but at least we got it supported. Now we get it over our heads and start looking at these mounts. Pretty good. The transmission are up and in there. It looks like we may be able to use this crossmember right off the shelf, which is pretty awesome. You can slide this anywhere you need to, and there's bushings. You can stick a couple here, put some in the back, and take up that space, which is great. You can kind of tune it in how you need it. I'd like the engine to be about 1.5 inches back, so that will still work just fine where we are here. So that tells you how much adjustment you've got, just because of the length of the V12. We want to suck up that space between the firewall face and the back of the cylinder head to about 0. So
I'm gonna get in here quick.
You see that, Sean? Yeah. Yeah, we want it back about 1.5 inches from there. So that's the goal. All right, so our V12 T56, everything is in the car. It's tight on room. Who would have thought that a giant 3 feet tall, 3 feet long V12 would be tough to put into a Mustang, but guess what, it is. We're figuring it out now. I think our last thing that we're gonna do, we'd like to get it back. The height is okay, the angle, it's about 2 degrees down, which is fine. But it's not far back enough. We are running into some clearance issues here, top of the tunnel, a few different spots. We're gonna drop this thing down one last time. I'm just gonna hack out a bunch of this metal and we will just make a little bit bigger tunnel. But for now, I wanna get the engine and transmission settled in, bolted in, make those front mounts, and have this thing finally exactly where it needs to be. Transmission tunnel, not that big of a deal. Getting the motor and transmission in and fully bolted in with all the custom mounts, everything we need, that's gonna feel good. So let's keep rocking. It's coming out, we're gonna cut some stuff. Our old buddy Pat's here, he brought some beers and some cheer. He's gonna help us out. All right, come on. Okay, that's it. Here?
All of it, yeah.
See it, yeah, all right, ready? I'm gonna start with a hole. This is a hammer drill,
nice.
For no good reason. Slow down, buddy. Hey, sweet. All right, this is the part that was holding us back, and now it's not anymore. Look, rust repair plus metal removal, all in one. Barb's back, Pat's here, V12's going in. Walk it over. Here we go. You want some of the technical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a 2x4 as a spacer here to get the height of this transmission where we want it. You want to grab me a bolt, Zim? A long one? If I get that started, we know that this is pretty well centered. And then we're going to go to the front, level this thing, move it left to right, center it up, and start talking about making some engine mounts. Finally. Get this sucker sitting in its home.
Up in there, huh?
I figure get it up nice and high. We need to have a good angle for the rear end. So I think we're at a 2-degree drop angle. We could do a little bit of a subframe spacer in the front if we have to, which we may talk about after this. But we're in business here. This is a V12 Aston Martin motor into a Mustang, which everyone said was never going to fit. And we got it far back. We're rocking and rolling. We got it. She's in there. It's looking good. It's looking possible. Everyone said we were idiots.
We are.
And then I said I was going to put a V12 Aston motor in a Mustang, and then more people said we were idiots. And
They're not wrong.
I think the second set was wrong. The first group could have been right. Different guys. They were talking about something else. We are good front to back. Now we're going to level the engine out and center it in the engine bay and start making up our mounts. I'm going to put this on here. This is 89, 88.8. That's not, hold on, there we go. 0.9. Give me a little more wiggle on that side. Perfect. Now if you're ever doing this, no matter what you're doing, if you're putting a rear end in a car or a motor or whatever, do yourself a favor. Make sure the chassis is level. So you have a reference, because if it's on a lift or wherever it is, it could be super out of whack. And then you'll be building a car, and then you put it on the ground and it's not happy anymore. That's 0.1. Lean to the right. So that's what we're going to aim for here. You 0.9, you got to give me a little more. 0.8. Oh, there you go. That's level. Okay. Grab a tape measure, find a point. Cars are generally pretty square. We're going to try to find, I would go edge of this thing or these bolts, this cast, anything. Do a couple different spots. Don't do it to the fender. The fenders can move quite a bit. Do it to this.
Well, this, yeah, I got it.
Either one of the
21. Wow, that's easy.
21. Okay.
Dead nuts. 21. It's 21. It's like 22 and a half.
Okay. Yeah, it does look tremendously over to the driver's side. So we're going to give it a little pull. We'll get it dialed in. That's it.
That's all right. 21 1/8.
We'll center it, we'll level it, we'll send it home. All right, if you're ever dumb enough to attempt something like this, you should know one thing. Power plants don't sit in the middle of cars, believe it or not. They sit about 1.5 inches over towards the passenger side. And the reason is the pinion does not sit in the center of the differential. So they offset everything so that the drive line, the axle, offset everything so the drive line, the drive shaft, sits over. Runs parallel, sits over. I'm measuring here from the center of this cross member to the different frame rails and getting about 1 3/8 inches over towards the passenger side. So we're going to go up to the top. We're going to make sure that the front of the engine is about 1 3/8 inches over to the passenger side. Weld it up. There you go.
It looks like it has decent clearance for the drive shaft too.
I mean, that's just like your opinion, man.
Opinion?
Whoa!
I see what you did.
Good enough.
I love it.
That's 0.2, that's 0.3. All right, we've got it dialed in. We know that the whole drivetrain is parallel, running straight down this car, offset 1.25 inches or so to the passenger side where we want it. We know that it's level. Let's weld it up.
Mounts on.
Mounts on. Nobody move anything. Nobody breathe.
This is our
So we
beautiful plate we made with the attachment of some cut up lower control arms, all welded.
It's gonna be sick.
There you go.
All right, where's that one I already...
We got these big bushing sleeves with some urethane bushings in here. If we can line this up.
Dang!
He lived.
Yeah. Look at that, huh?
Cope this tube, ground this flat, So we got a little angle on it, kind of just like that. Gonna hit with a couple of MIG tacks, take it over to the bench and TIG weld it up. Zach finished up welding the sweet V12 mounts we got rocking here. Did a nice job. Solid. Dropping dimes on these dudes.
There's that thing.
It's right there. Got this. Okay, there it is. The V12 is sitting on mounts in the Ford Mustang. Look at that. You move the motor, you move the car. It is dialed in, the transmission is bolted in, so we have our Aston Martin V12 QuickTime bell housing and that American Powertrain T56 sitting exactly where we want it to, and it fits like a glove. This has been awesome. I was really not sure if we could pull this off, if I'm being brutally honest here, and I think it's going to happen. Not only I think it's going to happen, I know it's going to happen. It's sitting in there, the hood might close, it's very close, we've got space for a radiator, we'll figure out where the fans go, and it just looks wicked. It looks wicked in there. Take a step back, get a shot. Look at that thing. That is the real deal right there. That thing is going to scream. All right, we worked our butts off this week. That is it for this episode of Stay Tuned. Thanks for watching. This one has been a ton of work. I'm very excited about this project, but we've got a couple of killer ones coming up soon. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Look at that. Yeah. Told you it wasn't so bad. Celebrating a strong day with Zach's mom's strawberry shortcake. Oh, you pour milk on it, right?
That's what I do.
That's what he does. Is this like a Pennsylvania Dutch thing? What are we looking at here? Like that? Like you go crazy on it? Never done it this way.
This is what I do.
You show me.
This is a Zach Zimmerman thing.
Oh, you just pour it everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That. Then it really soaks
Hit
in
me
there.
with that. Hit me with that.
And
Barb, how much milk you want?
Barb gets filled up to the top of the bowl.
Yeah.
That's how he likes it. And I don't eat strawberries.
That's how you eat it? All right,
That's
I'm going to eat
it.
strawberries. You're out of your mind.
Oh no, I love strawberry, but it's the texture.
Artificial strawberry.
That's good.
Or like you puree it, like a smoothie or something.
Yeah.
I'll mess that
I
up.
like it.
Thanks, Mrs. Z.
Gotta finish strong.
All right.
This is what's gonna get me through my drive home.
Mm-hmm.